Chris.
Ready.
Elise just wants to keep playing that jam.
Yeah, I was getting into it. Not gonna lie.
Well, Puglia, your lighting has gotten better in the last 30 seconds.
Has it?
Talked. Yeah, it's really
orange right now in this lighting.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is our Leadership Masterclass call. We do this twice a month. Many of you guys are hopping on, for the second, third, maybe fifth time. But if you're new, this is our call we do nationally to give you guys, basically information and tips from, some of the best owners in our business from different programs, different experience levels, going over different topics that relate to leadership. Today, we have a really exciting speaker and exciting topic. Mr. Anthony Puglia is going to be talking about opportunity. And if you look at the subjects that we cover in this call, it really is just all fundamentals of leadership, recruiting, training, cycle development, conversations, organizational stuff, driving sales. Well, this topic's obviously the important one because this is why all of us do this. If you're on this call, that means you're in leadership or maybe you're about to be. It's because you're looking ahead. You're looking down the line, what's in this long term. And I remember when I was new, I looked at myself and I said, all right, I'm going to give this 4 months and we'll see what happens. But in order for me or anyone to commit and give something time and energy and effort, it's just important you understand, what's going to happen if you do well, right? What's in your future? What can you accomplish long term? And the good news is you guys get inundated with information all the time, whether it's Sunday calls with Larry, rep calls, things like that. But we never can really stop expressing enough how important it is to think about the bigger picture of how this business works, how the industry functions, and why are we growing so much, right? And there's no better person to talk about that than Anthony. And to know today, he's going to go over into detail the subject of the opportunity. I just want to throw out some reminders for everybody. We do have a whole new set of speakers coming up for this for these masterclass calls. We just started doing our regionals in NorCal. We have another regional conference for all the reps in SoCal, the 21st of this month. We got Jacksonville, Florida for the South on the 4th of June, and then June 11th is the Northeast. And I know there's some other dates coming up. Really pumped about those meetings. But Mr. Puglia, you want to talk about opportunity? You've got 8 offices, 7 on the way. You oversee FiOS, 5G, and Inspire out of Manhattan. And your story is interesting. You've been an owner for a little bit of time now, and you went from an owner that was running a sales office to all of a sudden things clicked for you. You started building an organization, became a regional, and now, by the next R&R, your goal has got to be NC. So, a great person for you guys to listen to on the differences between running a business, being a leader, and then excelling into the next stages of our industry. So, Puglia, really excited to hear from you today. And everybody, message your leaders, text them, have them get on this call, and any questions you got, fire them in the chat because we'll answer those at the end. You ready to go, Puglia?
Let's do it, man. I appreciate it, Van. Thanks for having me again. This is definitely an exciting topic. And, I thought a lot about this because, when you know where to look, opportunity is everywhere, so it was a little challenging to kind of narrow it down. But I really kind of wanted to just break this down into 3 different parts. I think it's just relevant to the model where we're at right now with our organization. And obviously in, prime time recruiting season of people graduating from school and a lot of new people coming into the business, having a better understanding, like you said, as to why we're doing what we're doing. I know your story, you gave, yourself 4 months to figure it out. I kind of had a similar thing where it really took me about 3 months of networking and asking questions to really kind of formulate a vision of, okay, what could this be? And what can I do with this if I go all in on a career? So at that 3-month mark is really when I kind of closed the back door and I'm like, okay, I'm all in because I have an idea of what I can do if I were behind the wheel. But breaking this down into 3 parts. First is really just the client base, like understanding like the opportunity that we have to work with these accounts, because the clients that we work with, they are the engine that fuels this opportunity for growth and expansion. That is just a relentless pursuit for promoting people, developing others, and kind of stretching this as far as we can go with these clients. And we're so lucky, in the generation that we're in, because we're riding on the wake of the titans of our industry. I mean, you look at what people like Larry and Al Basada and Matt Kelly, Mike Terranoni have accomplished in developing this model and providing validity in the model to acquire these brand names and clients we represent today. It offers so much more credibility for people coming into the business right now, being able to go go out there and represent a top tier multi-billion-dollar brand. So it offers also a lot of validity to direct sales. We're not in the world of the encyclopedia salesperson or just the vacuum salesperson at your door. Like, it's services to the home, it's direct to consumer. And obviously, COVID had a big, part in really escalating and elevating that too. But I think it's important to understand that. And then next, the opportunity for business ownership, right? And this is kind of like a two-parter for me, because I'm someone who walked through the door wanting to run a business. I came into business when I was 24 years old. I knew I wanted to run a business. I attempted to build and start businesses when I was like a teenager and didn't know jack shit. And I realized that I need to learn. I need mentorship. I need leadership. I don't know what I don't know. And I need to get educated on what I need to do in order to make this work, as opposed to just spinning my wheels. So I walked in with that type of attitude. I want to run a business. I just didn't see up until maybe 3 months how like direct sales was going to correlate to I can run a business because of this, right? Which we'll touch on. And then the second part of that is, what is the opportunity in running a business in our organization? It's one thing to be a business owner, but what is the benefit of being a business owner in our organization? And what are the added benefits that provides? So we'll touch on that too. And then what your opportunity is. For the people watching this call, for the leaders in our organization, what is your opportunity? What are you working towards? And what can this program do for you if you're willing to commit and get behind the wheel and put the pedal to the metal? And what's exciting is that in real time, there's this new class of leaders being built in business, in our business. And, I would argue that if someone's going to be successful in this business, they'll be successful anywhere, because this business teaches and instills the fundamentals of what it takes to become a success. Right. And then the path that you take that on is your story and your journey. But, if someone's going to be successful here, they can do it anywhere. And I think the opposite is true. If someone's not going to be successful here, then entrepreneurship might not be for them, because it's the same fundamental through lines that are universal in every business that we instill and teach, so that's kind of how I'm going to break it down. But we can jump right into the clients here.
And as Anthony gets started, one of the things I think it's important as you guys take notes, and we're going to talk about the opportunity, the clients, and all the good things, but we're really going to talk about the negatives too, and the challenges that go into each one of these categories. Because if this was easy, everybody would do it, anybody could do it, and there really would be no opportunity, right? So we like the fact that there's negatives, and we want you to understand what are going to be the things that hold us back, right? What are the major challenges and one of the major negatives that you got to go through in order to be successful? And so really, as we go through the positives, I want you to pay just as much attention to the things that can go wrong, because all of this stuff is razor thin in terms of, what can work and what doesn't work. So as you're taking notes, everybody, you're listening in, pay attention to both those things, because Puglia's got a lot to say here. So.
Yeah, and look, that's a good point. It's important to talk about the negatives and the challenges of it all. And the reason why I can talk about that and you can talk about that is because of how confident we are in the benefits and the positives. You know what I mean? So we'll address it all. But, just with the clients alone, AT&T, Car Keys Express, Frontier, Inspire, Nestle, T-Mobile, Verizon 5G, these are multi-billion, multi-million-dollar brands, right? These are the brands that are top of their industry in what they do. So why do these brands outsource to us? And I think that's an important point, because you may be in an office with 15, 20, 25 people, and it may be difficult, as it was for me as a leader, to really understand the full scope of our organization, the full scope of what we do for these clients. And it's important to realize in terms of why they outsource to us is that these companies that we represent, these clients, they're not sales and marketing companies. Right? They're companies that operate in goods and services for consumers, right? So because they're not sales companies, it's much more advantageous for these clients to not have to focus on, every time they move into a new city, hiring, training, developing, and managing direct sales and marketing teams in every new city that they expand and grow into, so they can invest their time and resources into what matters in terms of their specialty. And that's, research and development, that's building infrastructure, that's the technologies that they offer to consumers to create such high quality products and services that we get the opportunity to offer. So it's important to realize that that's the symbiotic type of relationship, is they offer the brands, the goods and services. Our forte We specialize in the face-to-face direct sales and marketing, customer acquisitions, being able to bring quality customers, to the table. And when it comes to expansion, we've all heard that most businesses fail in the first 5 years. 80% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. Like, okay, it seems to be a trend. Why is that the case? Right. So if you look at Verizon as like a storefront expanding, and opening up a new store, they've got to build out the infrastructure. They've got to, get the lease. They've got to build out the place. And then they've got to scramble and find the right team of people to come together to run it successfully, right? Our model, and why it's so attractive to the client, is that we're not taking that same type of chance. We've seen so many businesses go under in these past couple of years, but what we're doing is we're building and developing the right person internally. And when we know we have someone who's going to be a success, because we're literally in real time watching them run an office with a strong track record, and so is the client for that matter, then we have a much higher likelihood of success. That not only excites us for the ability to expand our organization, but the client's excited too, because they know what they're going to get with it. So what we bring to the table for these clients that they do not get through other traditional forms of marketing and advertising is really just the face-to-face aspect in the digital world. And I just want to touch on some of these bullets and give a couple little examples as to why it's so beneficial for the clients, and why it makes sense for these multi-billion-dollar brands to outsource to us and say, hey, take our name, take our brand, use our likeness, and go out there and build our reputation and build our brand in the market that we're going into. And first is just a personal connection, right? Like, we're the face and the personality of a brand. And what we do for the client that their other forms of marketing cannot offer is we humanize that experience for the customer itself. Like, I don't know about you, man, but every time I call a customer service line, I get the automated like Jarvis robot that just is like, tell me what's wrong with your problem. And I don't have a number for the problem that I have. Like, and I'm just on there, operator, agent, representative, human being, please. Like, I just want to talk to someone, deliver my problem, get a solution, and then that's it, right? We get the opportunity to do that, face to face, building a real relationship, and also take real-time feedback from these customers, right? We get to gauge customers' reactions, emotions, frustrations. Like, we've all, if you've been in the field on Verizon, you've been in the field where someone opens a door, looks at your Verizon shirt and goes, oh, Verizon, I'll never go with them again. I don't want to be locked into a 3-year contract. But now we have the opportunity to say, whoa, hold on, good news. We heard the customers and we did away with contracts. We have month-to-month options available now because we're so confident you're going to love the services that we can provide that you're not going to go anywhere to begin with. So we don't even need to do the contracts, right? And we can address a negative for the customer in real time that an advertisement on a billboard or on Instagram or a website could never do. It would just get passed over, and that's an expense to the company. We actually get to address the concern and change the reputation, of the client in real time with the customer, and that's a very unique and powerful thing that we get the opportunity to provide, which builds so much value in us as a sales and marketing force. Not only that, trust and credibility, we get an opportunity to step up to the plate and be knowledgeable, demonstrate professionalism, and express how we can provide a solution to a problem that they have, and take a genuine interest in understanding if there's a problem and what we can do to offer a solution, like running a speed test at the door. Like getting someone to, explaining and showing someone like, hey, here's what you're paying for, here's what you're getting, here's what we offer, no brainer. Right. So we get the chance to do like these little demonstrations for people in real time and get them to see like that there is a benefit and there is a win in moving forward with one of our client services. So that's something that just an advertisement, commercials, they just can't provide, in real time with these customers. And then, building relationships and lasting impressions. Right. I remember being in the field, which is a while ago now. And I networked with a national just on like frustrations of the field. How do you deal with negatives? How do you deal with rude and bitter people? Like, how do you deal with people looking down on you, and like subjugating you in some way, like all of that stuff. And, he had some advice that stuck with me, a decade later, and it really changed my approach to the field, where he said, look, I stopped trying to go out there and just sell a customer, and just be a salesperson. And my goal for the field became very simply to change the perception of a door-to-door salesperson for that one individual. And that just like hit a light bulb, off with me, where I was like, you know what, that's a win-win. Like there's no lose. If I've made my goal making a strong impression on the person that answers the door in a personal and professional way, and by the end of it, even if they didn't want it or they're not a quality customer, whatever the case is, they could walk back inside and say, you know what, that guy was pretty cool. Like that guy just changed my opinion of someone doing door-to-door sales. And you know what? Someone on my crew might be the next person to knock on their door with a different product or service, and they're willing to give that person the time of day. So I think that, relationship building and then being able to follow through with the rehash of the customer is just paramount. If they were going to be a customer, they would have already done it. They sign up because you showed up at the door and you made an impact for them. And that's powerful. That's something that the clients can't duplicate. They've tried, but the Verizon sales rep who goes and does door-to-door or event-based sales is never going to get a chance to own a piece of Verizon. So their scope in growth and development is limited, whereas if we know what our opportunity is, it's limitless, and you could take it as far as you want to go, so those are just some of the benefits of why what we do works and how no other form of marketing for acquisitions can compete or come close to it, which is why these clients are dumping more and more into, expanding with organizations like us, as opposed to spinning their wheels, paying for the expense of marketing, crossing their fingers and hoping it results in, in sales. So we talked then about the challenges, right? What are the challenges in representing these, what I would call Marlin accounts? And the first is just clearly like compliance. We're representing a brand, like it's public perception, like we are the brand. When I went through the field with a home improvement company, there was no compliance or branding. I just loosened the tie, rolled up the sleeves, and hey, how are you? I'm at your door. You had no idea why I was there. But we need to protect that brand and that opportunity by making sure that we're authentic, that we're operating with strong ethics, with morals, and understanding that not only you're protecting your own opportunity and what could, potentially change your future, but you're protecting the opportunity of everyone around you by doing the right thing by customers and not focusing on sandbagging people and just get numbers under your belt for numbers' sake. And that ties into, the next challenge, which is, not really a challenge. It's more of an added benefit of protection, which is the quality of performance. Like we protect our clients by being paid on quality, right? So we're bounty hunters for these clients. They'll pay us for as many sales as we can provide that are obviously quality sales. And where that protective aspect comes in is if Verizon was paying us on every sale that didn't deliver in an install, how long are they going to be working with us before they say, you know what, we're losing more with this than we would with digital marketing and advertising ads. So let's just put more into that. So it really protects the relationship and it forces us to raise the bar. It forces us to reach higher. It forces us to work on ourselves, which is going to deliver better quality and therefore better results. And again, everybody wins. But that means that you got to be willing to suck. That means that you got to be willing to have shit results and then become aware of it and then actually put in the time and effort to improve upon it and move the needle forward. And if you're willing to do that, then the good results could be right around the corner if you're willing to put in the work. But we got to make sure that we take advantage of, the tracking, the reporting, and doing the right thing by having the power and responsibility of representing these brands, because the low hanging fruit is really the first to rot. So, especially with something like ACP, we don't want to just go out there and just grab customers. We want to explain the benefits and we want to do right by the client, be thorough, follow through with the rehash and make sure it's quality. So.
Yep. Wow. Well, Anthony did a beautiful job breaking that stuff down. One of the things that really was frustrating for me as a leader was when I was new, I did not know how to explain this stuff. So, I remember trying to recruit people, and I had a hard time building my team because when someone would ask me questions about like why we did what we did or how the client works, I would get questions, kind of like objections in a way. My ability to explain the business was very amateur, and it took me time. And so when you guys hear this stuff, it's such a educated breakdown of really how our industry functions, why these clients invest in us, what's happening in the marketing world that all of us are experiencing, what gives a bartender like me a chance to come into the business and build this business, not because I'm necessarily like Puglia, where I was always wanting to be an entrepreneur, but I could say, hey, I work hard and stuff, but really we're in a world where these clients, they need forms of customer acquisition, and there's just nothing more powerful than what we do, right? So you guys as leaders that are looking to build your teams, a key part of building your teams is recruiting, and a key part of recruiting is being able to explain what we do, not in a way that sounds desperate or sounds like you're trying to sell people, just educating them. And if it's not for them, it's not for them, but you can't argue with what Puglia just said. These are just facts of the world, right? And the last part is the compliance. The only way we lose this opportunity is if we're not compliant. If you're a person that's interested in making a quick buck, you'll lose your opportunity, because if you commit fraud or you have high cancels and high churn, we don't need, these clients don't need your sales if you're not going to be a quality, customer acquisition person. So really, we've got to protect ourselves and protect the future by not having people work in our industry that are just trying to make a quick buck. So important, everything he said. Hopefully it helps you guys when it comes to you guys explaining the business further with your teams, with your family, with even yourself, because you understanding it. Once I understood it and I became more sold, not just like I was trying to be sold, but I became more understood, boom, I could explain it to people. And next thing you know, team started to build. So I love it, Puglia. I know we took a lot of time on that one, so we'll jam through these next couple, but that was really good.
Can I just say one thing on that? Because you brought up a really interesting point, and that like really I had the same problem when I was a leader in the field, where I remember going to my manager and saying, look, I'm supposed to take out these interviews for 8 hours. Like, how the hell am I supposed to convince someone that this is worth their while? And my manager was like, well, you're here doing it. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm special. Like, I get it. He's like, okay, well, then you need to figure out how to get other people to get it. And that resulted in what you're exactly talking about right now, where I had to really understand, because we didn't have the brand like a Verizon to lean on. So I had to really understand the pros and cons of different forms of marketing. What are the pros and cons of television ads, radio ads, billboards, internet marketing? And that way I can educate someone through the course of the second round interview, where it showed I was the one who was informed and educated about marketing and how it works and results to business and acquiring new customers. And therefore it made me the expert, as opposed to the person who thought they knew, coming in with like a social media background or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
cool. All right.
Puglia, I'm going to challenge you. 2 slides, 10 minutes each, so we can do Q&A. You got me?
Easy breezy.
Okay.
All right. So opportunity to run a business, right? So very much like franchising, you've got full autonomy and ownership of the branch that you built, right? You show that you can build the branch, and then it becomes yours, right? So before I touch on like our organization, I really want to kind of touch on the understanding of the benefits of being a business owner in general, which is kind of what my mindset was coming into the business, why I wanted this. One is just profit and scalability, right? So there's three ways that I can get a raise, right? Running a business. One is I can hire more people, which we actively, attempt to do all the time, because we're looking for growth and we want expansion. That requires people, right? So we can always hire more people if I want to give myself a raise, because more people results in more sales and therefore, higher earnings. 2, I can better train and develop people, right? So there's a lot of scalability for the player as well. So we could take someone that does an average of 4 or 5 apps a week. We can work with them, retrain them, educate them, develop them, and they can go from 4 to 8, and they can double their production and productivity for their own benefit and the benefit of a growing organization. And then 3rd, we can promote and expand, right? Where that results in now overrides, which we'll touch on briefly. But those are the 3 ways that if I want to make more money, I can do that today, and have an impact on my results for tomorrow. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to run a business. 2nd, vision and creative control. Like having creative control over a culture that you build, creative control over business strategies, business decisions, being able to grant governance to other people to step up, to take on responsibilities in leadership roles and see what people are made of, Larry really changed my mindset on developing people with the whole, put a size 4 into a size 6 and let them grow into the role. Give people opportunity for, that they might not be ready for, but the right person will rise to the occasion and grow into the position. And that was a big changing factor for me since coming back from COVID. Freedom and flexibility, having the full autonomy of your life, being able to make every executive decision in your life, creating your own schedule. You look at, people like Matt Kelly, Larissa, Ken, they no longer run an office. They earn millions working remote, right? From wherever they choose to do it, being able to run an organization. They don't have to be in an office at, 9 o'clock every morning because they've put in the work to build something that's now bigger than them, and they have an opportunity to earn on that, for as long as they want. And that's millions of dollars.
We know where Ken is. He's in his garage. Any location, we know where he is. He's in his garage.
Yes, he is. He can change the background though, if he wanted to.
Same flannel shirt.
He won't fool us.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can do that, and then you get the opportunity to build your brand, right? Like I'm not out there, yes, Verizon's our brand and our client, sure, but Synergy is my brand. I created it. It's mine. I own it. And having the ability to bring something to life that means something to you, getting the chance to create in a career and create something of value that has an impact. Like I just simply can't imagine what more you would want for yourself in a career. Like what else could you ask for other than unlimited growth, unlimited earning potential, the ability to be able to work from anywhere in the world at your choosing when you put yourself in that right position, and then having your own brand that you build and create that becomes something of value. Like what more could you want in a career, honestly? But we do have more for you. And that's what I want to touch on in the next part, which is understanding the benefits of ownership in our organization and why this is such a unique opportunity. And first, we already touched on this, but a top tier client base. There's no end in sight to the growth of the clients that we get the opportunity to represent right now. And when I was in the field, when I started late 2009, so we're going back here. There was a client called Mid-Atlantic Basement Waterproofing, right? Have you heard of it? Of course not. And the reason for that is because they were an NYDMA company, meaning they had no ambition or vision to grow beyond New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland. That was it. That's the territory. Right. So it's a limited scope of growth for a client like that. Now, being able to work with an account like that and build up a track record can attract a Marlin account like a Verizon that has national growth and expansion opportunities, as to where we can go, and what's so awesome in my mind about our organization is that we're a third party, meaning I'm not locked into one brand or industry or client that I have to work with for the next 15 years, and do or die by that. Started off in home improvements, did energy, did telecom, and who knows what the future holds because car keys, actually, that's a big part of what the future holds because I'm getting involved with that, but there's so much to it. You can move laterally and get involved in other divisions and relearn and reinvent and rediscover yourself if that's what you're into. That excites me, right? Not being able to do the same thing with the same people for 25 years, right? So having that third party, like at our back, that we get the ability to kind of really be fluid through these different industries, right? An immense support structure, hubs, regionals, nationals. My hub has been one of the most biggest support systems in my career, like helping me understand the difference between spending and investing, helping me manage money. My idea of managing money when I was in the field is going to an Acme, cashing a check, throw it in my pocket and hope it lasts the weekend. Like that was me at 24. So being able to have a better understanding about, money, saving money, not spending recklessly, all of these things, which were mistakes that I made as a rookie owner, which I had to learn the hard lessons, have really helped me evolve as an individual and a business person. Compliance and quality control. The fact that there's teams of people that have everything on record, for you, so that it's your job's easier to follow up with these people, so you get paid. It's astounding. Legal support. If I wanted to just open up a pizza place down the street, right, I would need to know New York state law, labor laws. I'd have to have an attorney. I'd need to get a bank loan, but I get roped into a call when there's a change in New York state labor law that helps interpret what that law is so I can better understand it because I don't know jack about it, right? So these support systems that come into play when you're running a business, that provide such opportunity for you to just focus on what matters, where I don't need to be an expert in law. I don't need to be an expert in accounting. I have experts around me that I can rely on for support that I would never get granted to if I were just going to open up my own business down the street. You know, the ability to impact and contribute towards others. You know, this incessant, just charge for developing leaders, right? And leadership is about emboldening and empowering other people to take on greater responsibilities and become more than they are in the process. You know, and because we have such unique support systems, we could take those chances. We can take chances on people that show life, that show that they got something special and are willing to put in the work. You know, an established network of resources, you know, of people that come from other industries, that are experts in other fields, that all have a common thread of entrepreneurship. We all want to elevate ourselves, the people around us, and make the world better by producing better people. You know, like, that's astounding. You know, most organizations have, hey, here's one position available for a regional position. Every manager in the region's fighting for it, cutthroat. You know, every single person in my office can get promoted to management if they decided they want to take advantage of an opportunity. You know, they're the only ones stopping themselves. You know, so I think that's unbelievably powerful. And then we haven't even touched on overrides, right? Which we can probably just dedicate another thing for. But, you know, there's a benefit. Like, if I make money on all the sales that you generate in my office, why do I ever want you to get promoted? Short answer, I make more money when you're doing that in a new market where the client has zero sales, right? So if I can invest the time and effort into developing someone that is going to be a success somewhere else, right? The client is willing to compensate the promoting manager for that, for taking the time and also holding that liability that, hey, look, if that market's in trouble or needs support, boom, we're sending a road trip. I'm going down there. I'm letting the client know, like, hey, I'm invested in this, just like you're invested in this, and we're going to build this back up and we're going to get this thing running. So there's incentives financially to do that, you know, and that continues to grow and spill. So if you don't know about overrides, ask your manager about overrides, ask them to run a meeting on it, because it will open your eyes for sure. But in the interest of time, let's go into the challenges of what running a business is really all about. You know, you at the end of the day, you're betting on yourself. There's no guarantees, you know, just because I opened up a pizza shop, you know, with Nona's famous pizza sauce recipe doesn't mean it's going to be a success, you know, because I might have the best pizza sauce in town, but I don't know how to market or sell my product, right? So the bet is on you. And that's what I wanted coming into a business. Like, if I'm not willing to bet on myself, who can I ever expect to bet on me? No one is ever going to put me first, right? Everyone has their own agenda of what they want to accomplish. So if I want to get in the game, I need to be a player, and I need to be able to hold my own. I need to be willing to take chances. I need to be willing to put in the work. I need to be willing to go the extra mile, you know, and I need to do all the little things that have the compound effect on increasing my likelihood of being a success in anything, right? So you got to take a bet on yourself. And that means that you stand to lose, right? But you're never going to know what you have the ability to gain if you're not willing to place the bet, right? No one else will bet on you. And then next is the sacrifices. Sacrifices need to be made to build something worthwhile. You know, there's a famous quote from a guy, Simon Sinek. A lot of people probably know him. He wrote the book, It Starts With Why. You know, and he said, there's two things that can't be built overnight. And one is deep and meaningful relationships. And the second is a fulfilling career. I wanted a fulfilling career, you know, and I knew that wasn't going to be an overnight success. I chased it a lot in my teens, you know, and I knew, let me just put in the work and see what can happen from there. So you got to be willing to make sacrifices. I missed a lot of holidays, a lot of birthdays, family trips, and all those things, which the regular employee-minded people in my family didn't understand. And that was a point of contention and frustration, you know, and it wasn't until after I built something that they saw value in, did they say, okay, now I get it. Now it's like when things come up, it's like, hey, if you can make it, we'd love to have you. But now I've got the freedom and flexibility, you know, I didn't when I was building it, right? So sacrifice got to be made.
Yeah, I'll just hit on this. It's so, I mean, such important information you guys are hearing. You know, it sounds great, right? When people come in, everybody hears it. Wow, I can move up fast. I can get into management. Like I said to you guys a little bit ago, I mean, I didn't know I could run a business. I didn't know I could be an entrepreneur. I needed someone to take a chance on me and sort of let me prove myself in this arena. But the reason why there's opportunity and the reason why we have all these cities we can promote is because this is freaking hard. And most people can't even get past the entry level, right? So if you're on this call, congratulations, because there's a lot of people that start that can't even keep their attitude for one day. And it doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean I look down at them or I'm above them or anything. Just the reality is what we do is hard, right? And then you talk about how hard it is to lead people. That's also really hard. That's why there's way, less teachers than students. There's way less coaches than players, right? Is because it's hard. It's hard to manage people because you always have to be the example because people are always watching you, right? So you talk about how it's hard to lead people. That's why there's only a certain percentage of people that get promoted to management. And then you look at ownership. How come there's certain people that make this much money, Puglia, right? And then there's certain people that barely, make a little bit. It's because at that stage, it's up to you, like you said. And if you're a person that's extremely self-motivated, man, you're going to kill it because you're not going to need someone to tell you what to do. And I said it in the R&R, certain people, when they get into management, they worked harder as a leader in the office for their owner than they do when they own the company. They get lazier when their whole business is on them. They start to delegate and think it's up to other people. And that's the part we don't know. We don't know that. I wish there was some little scanner we could check, like in The Last of Us, where I could, check your neck and it would show green light means you're a real entrepreneur. Red light means you're kind of an employee. We don't know. So we're going to take chances on people. But that's why when people ask, why is there opportunity? It's because this is freaking hard. And even if you see Puglia, we'll talk about it. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It's just, if you can develop a skill set in this industry, holy crap, these clients are willing to pay you tons of money. And there's so many owners that struggle. Puglia, you had stretches. I had stretches where we struggled, where getting into management wasn't this easy walk in the park. My first couple of years, I had no idea what I was doing. Going back to the resources, going back to the networking. Larry had to go on a retrain. I don't know how many people that needed support went back that you don't have in other businesses that you guys have here. So although the challenges are in place, if you believe in yourself, if you believe in your future, it doesn't guarantee your success, but there's an arena that you're in that if you're willing to prove yourself, obviously the growth is there because it's a challenge. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that the reason why there's opportunity is because it's freaking hard. And, it doesn't mean you're a bad person if you can't do it. It's just, if you can, holy crap, there's a boatload of money sitting ahead of you in opportunity.
Look, if it was easy, then managers would make like 60 grand a year, like a Walgreens manager would, or an enterprise, manager would, but yeah, you're 100% right. And for those that enjoy the challenge, then you stand to reap the rewards. So cool.
And listen, all of you guys should like that it's hard. You should like that. I'm not trying to be cynical, but I remember being a new guy. And when someone in the room would say, hey, I'm going to quit. And I thought they were sharp. I'm like, if that person can't do this and I can, wait a second, maybe there's something here. It's kind of like when I tried out for basketball teams and they make cuts. You're kind of like, I'm still here. So maybe I'm going to get a jersey. And of course, we don't want people to fall off, but the nature of what we do, it requires people to be self-motivated. And we know that 7% of the world employs the other 93%. So if you're trying to get into that top 10%, obviously this is the place you can do it. All right, Puglia, we're going to finish strong.
All right. Let's do it. All right. And then last, but certainly not least, right, is the opportunity for you, the leader, person watching this. And understanding like what you have on your hands and if you're willing to take it seriously and you're willing to, actually put your foot down and do something, like you can become, a completely different version of yourself in the best way possible, which is how I looked at this training program. I knew I needed training development. I knew I needed to get my ass beat a little bit, in order to really kind of develop myself. I needed to go through the trenches, and I was willing to do that, in order to get to where I wanted to be on the other side. And I was tested along the way, every step of the way, because I was not a natural leader coming into this business. I just had a vision of what I thought like a leader could be or should be, and how I might be able to evolve into that person. But it was an evolution, right? It wasn't like, I didn't come in the right person. I came in with maybe some right elements, and then I needed to get honed and chiseled and developed over the course of time. And I needed people to help me make aware of what those things needed to be. But let's just jump into like where you have an opportunity just today, like working in this business, and why I was retained and why I was excited for these challenges. And one is just communication skills. Like, first and foremost, the ability to read and recognize people, facial expressions, voice tonality, voice inflection, body language, being able to read attitude and frustration, being self-aware and being able to read the room. These are uncanny skills that have afforded me tremendous opportunities in my entire life, outside of business, in personal relationships, the dating world, those types of relationships, it's Van, you too. So it went unbelievably.
Look at how good you look and how good you talk. It's an unstoppable combo.
Dude, I'm telling you, there's something in the lighting here. I do not spray tan. I want that on the record. I don't know what this is, what this lighting is, but I got customer service coming for this camera, and then just hit the dial pad until the problem. Are you orange on your Zoom? Comes up. Yeah. So communication skills, active listening, persuasive speaking. Like, I just cannot imagine a more powerful skill that you can possess as a human being than the ability to influence other people, right? In an impactful and positive way, right? The turn of the coin is manipulative, which isn't what I'm interested in, but being influential and expanding my sphere of influence by being a strong communicator, having sound arguments and sound logic, and being able to convey my thoughts and opinions in a way that are articulated properly and effectively is game changing in the game of life. Because as far as I know, we're going to be dealing with humans as long as we're going to be around. Why not maximize your ability to do it? And learning that at a younger age, early in your career. Second, goal setting, right? Like, I walked into the business thinking that I had goals, but I was really just a daydreamer. I really just got really good at daydreaming. I got really good at wanting results, right? And imagining how cool life would be if those results were on the table. Like, I grew up in the Entourage era, of like, hey, how cool would this be? Like, taking me and my boys to the top, but I didn't understand that a goal was having something that you aim at and then build an action plan towards it, and then track and measure your progress along the way, with someone who can help you adjust course. I never learned that until I got into this business. I just had aspirations, dreams, like all this stuff, but it didn't result in anything because I didn't know how to take it to the level of the result, right? Confidence and emotional intelligence. Believe it or not, man, there was a point in time where I had a full lock of hair, luscious locks. They were fantastic. I loved it. But unfortunately, it was short-lived. I started, losing it at an early age. 21, 22 years old. So by the time I came to this business, 24, like, I didn't have confidence as an individual. I knew I needed it. I wanted it, of course, but I was the guy in the back of the room with the backwards hat, and the hood up, and I just, would chill, but I wanted to become something more, and I remember being through the field and having to go through the uncomfortable insecurities of people looking at like my receding hairline, and having to like just take a gulp and swallow and say, okay, like, on to the next one, and I had to learn how to build and develop confidence through my behavior, through my ability to communicate, through my ability to impact and, and really get through to people, and that is what helped me build confidence, over time, being adaptable with other people and understanding that the game itself doesn't change, but you as the player have the opportunity to change. And that's the only thing that can change, is the player, right? So problem solving and dealing with negatives, like learning how to be quick on your feet, dealing with unexpected situations, the ability to assess and analyze, situations around you and just be aware. It makes it, like, I feel like I've got cheat codes to life, being able to walk around and being so in tune with things that happen around me, where so many people are just kind of oblivious to, people's reactions or where they're at or things like that. Like, it's such an unbelievable skill that I'm glad I developed, because it's taken me so much further in other areas of my life outside of just business and business relationships. Public speaking. The first time I ever ran an impact, it was the scariest moment of my life. I'd never been up in front of a room. I got up and said, excuse me, can everyone just face the wall to the back and just listen to what I have to say? Like, my leg was violently shaking. I almost like had a puddle on the floor. It was brutal, but now I've come to a point where I know how to command a room. Like, I can get up in front of 1,000 people and MC a holiday party, having no experience doing stuff like that. Just being able to understand how to read a room and drive impulse, drive excitement, and create atmosphere. These are all things I learned through being a leader in the business that have opened up other doors for me, in the future. Interviewing and recruiting. I mean, you kind of touched on that earlier, but the ability to package and present information that's in a way articulate and efficient, that, builds value in what you say. Like I don't sell people on the business, I educate people on the business, and then they make the decision on whether or not it's something that aligns with their goals. But again, with all these things that we're highlighting as far as opportunity, it can align with a lot of people's goals, but you need to be the right example. You need to be like the package yourself. You need to be someone that people aspire to want to be like, or believe they can be better than if you're in a lucrative position, right? So educating others and providing opportunity for growth, ultimate motivator. And then, of course, you got training others and team building, having this just unreal opportunity to instill the best of you, in a new generation of people, learning through hard lessons, failures, and also the ability to predict results based on people's actions and behaviors is just an unreal skill that almost allows you to kind of predict the future, which is something that Ken always did that blew my mind. I'm like, how the hell does this guy keep predicting what's going to happen? And it's because he's such a good read at understanding the decisions that people are going to make and what role he can play in influencing those decisions to become better. So results improve and increase, and the player improves and increases. But if I didn't have that admiration for him, I wouldn't have cared what he had to say. But he was an example. He was someone that I looked up to and said, wow, like I can learn from this person. This person's philosophies challenge mine. And, I can adopt a better philosophy. So just being able to be surrounded by people who are constantly in motion to elevate and expand themselves I just wouldn't want to be in any other environment personally, because everything else is just going to be stagnation. And if you're not growing, you're dying. That's my opinion. But let's just run into the challenges real quick. We'll open up Q&A for you, man. One, no long and short about it, man. There's an upfront investment of time and effort. There's just no shortcut for hard work or building something, to the foundation of the house that you will live in, that will be your business if you do it. And you got to put the blood, sweat, and the tears, minus the blood, but it's tough. You got to invest a lot into, you got to invest everything you've got into someone else, and that person may never show up tomorrow. Like that's just the reality of the business that we're in, but that doesn't mean that you stop investing everything you have into the next person. The way I look at it is, hey, look, you could probably relate, man. I've been on a bad date before, like a really bad first date, but I didn't write off women. It's an independent event. It's like, okay, I need to just go into the next one. Like this is like, just like you look at a customer, I'm not going to carry my negatives of a bad experience into a new experience that could be positive for me. And that's how I look at people that come into the business. Everyone is a clean slate and has a fresh opportunity to do something. And I don't look at people coming into the business as who they are. Of course, that's an element, but I look at people coming into the business as who could you be with my influence? Right? If I was the right example and I can impart knowledge and my resources and help you become resourceful and independent and have strong fortitude and, a great work ethic and a great attitude and, make something out of nothing, like who could you become if you had that person in your life? And I imagined who I could become and found those people in my life through this organization, which is why I'm so appreciative of this opportunity, but you will be challenged and you will be forced to rise to the occasion, and how do you compensate for something like that? How do you compensate for, waking up and just getting hits to the chin with no all day, or, putting time and effort into people that just bail on you? Like, how do you compensate for that? And the best thing, the highest philosophy that I can think of is that the obstacle is the way, that you find the heaviest thing you can carry and you carry it and you get stronger in the process. And the destination is the journey in who you become in getting there over time by adopting more responsibility and unlocking more of who you can become, which never happens if you play in the safe zone and you're not willing to bet. So the game gets harder for sure, but you can get better. And it's scary that we don't know our potential until we're actually put to the test, and I constantly had to ask myself, like literally going through the field, looking at myself in the mirror and saying, are you as good as you think you are? And the only answer I can ever give back is, yes, you're better. Now just go freaking get it. Like, go make it happen. Get back up and keep moving, and that was something that just was like the Captain America moment. I can do this all day, driving me through the obstacles and the hurdles and the pitfalls and the shit storms that just seemed relentless when I was trying to level up in life. And the reason why I think I've made it to a new level is because I was persistent and I was an aggressive student, coming back to people who were better than me, did more than me, accomplished more, and said, just give me a slice of what you've got and show me what I can do. Show me what needs to be done. And the fact that there are millionaires in this business that are willing to give you their time and answer those questions for you at no cost to you, is something I haven't found in, anywhere else in a 13-year career. Yeah. So.
Well, I will say, and
hopefully it's time.
I'm going to call you Anthony Robbins, no longer Anthony Puglia. You're okay with that?
Sure, man.
So I just think it's important when you hear this last slide, and I know this was a big subject, right? So we wanted to cover all these different aspects, but as we wrap up the call, one thing to really take away, because I remember when I was in the field as a leader, I used to think, I just got to get this done. I got to just like get this over with so I can get to the next stage, which in some ways is the way you want to think. But I will tell you this, treasure this time, because all the skills you're developing right now are what's going to make you successful for the next decade to come. Like Puglia can agree, like we can train a lot of you guys as system management in 2 weeks. Here's how to do an interview over Zoom. Here's how to do accounting. Here's how to do payroll. There's an art to it, but the skills and the mentality and the attitude and the relentlessness, all the things that you develop that go deep into your bones that last for the rest of time are all built through the field. Like all these obstacles, all these challenges, the days where it's raining, the days where it's cold, the day where a person you like doesn't show up, the day where you got to practice pitch and your team isn't what you thought it was, the day you got to go out an extra mile on a Sunday, all those things that happen that you look at in the moment and say, man, this sucks. It's beautiful, because that's what's training your brain and training how you look at stuff to when you're running an office. Those are the skills you lean on, right? So all the things that I could credit to what's happening in my life is really what happened 10 years ago when I was in the field, and all those crazy days and those tough times. So when you get through that stuff, it's not just in the moment, it's really what you're building long-term. So I wanted to finish with that. We got 5 minutes. Puglia, we sucked at timing today. I take blame, but the content was so freaking good. The breakdowns were so, in detail. And, you're the perfect person to break this stuff down because of your experience and your growth through the leadership phase, running a business, and then building an organization, because you've seen all levels to it. So, okay. Any questions you have, guys, in the chat? We got a couple minutes. About anything about, the clients, about running an office, about leadership. We're open to hear them. I know we only got a couple minutes, but Puglia, I thought that was great, man. That was really good stuff.
Appreciate it, bro.
Yeah. And I remember just even like we talk about getting information, right? Which is what these calls are about. I didn't get this type of information until my 4th month.
Right.
Going to a Dallas meeting. And I was like, whoa, this business is actually big. I remember being in my office where there was 15 people and my owner was good at explaining things, but it didn't hit me until I went and I saw 2,000 people. And I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah. And all these different divisions. I'm like, who are all these people? They're like, oh, this is our AT&T division. This is our customer. I'm like, well, other divisions. I'm like, we have other divisions. And it was just this, like, in 3 months, I had no idea that there was this organizational impact with these other clients. I was like, oh man, I found the club I want to be a part of. That's it.
Yeah. And a funny story before we finish, when I was in Dallas one time, it was probably I was in ownership for 2 or 3 years or whatever it was. We were in the lobby and a guy walks up to Larry and he goes, hey, Larry, how's it going?
Yeah.
Goes, how are you? And he goes, I'm so-and-so, I'm from Pakistan. And he's like, oh, Pakistan. He's like, yeah, I have 50 offices. And Larry's like, nice to meet you. I'm like, Larry didn't even know him. And this guy's got 50 offices out in, the Middle East and Pakistan. And Larry's just meeting him. And he's like, hey, I've been wanting to meet you for a long time.
Dude, that's
and
wild.
My head just exploded. I'm like, what the hell? This business is in Pakistan? Like what's going on? And of course it's different products, but it's all the same fundamental stuff, right? Direct to consumer, entry level, work your way up, low cost of running an office. Yeah. Put first and last month's rent down, and then get to work. And again, guys, I'll finish with this, and Puglia can say something too. Oh, hold on, interrupted. What are the struggles and challenges you faced while getting into management?
Dude, we don't have enough time for that, but it was there a lot, I mean, I hit struggles all along the way. I mean, the only thing that was like relatively like natural and easy for me coming in the door were building relationships. Like I was always good at that, but also like the field side of it, I'm like, okay, like I can learn this pitch and say it to this many people and just walk and talk, like I was a lot more emotional. Like I wore my like heart on my sleeve back then. So you knew when I lost my attitude based on how I came back. But I got promoted in 3 weeks just because I was in early every day. I did the things that required no skill. I showed up early every day. I had an hour and 20-minute commute. So I thought about what I was doing and I wrote down questions and asked 2 questions when I walked in the door every morning. Like these are easy, simple things that elevated me as a new person in the office, where it's like, okay, someone keep an eye on this guy and make sure he has what he needs and make sure he's got goals. And I was like cherry picked early on just because I didn't have the skill. I just had the drive. I just had the grit. I showed I wanted it. And that was reciprocated by people giving me more, and I just hit obstacles, through every capacity, couldn't retain people, couldn't start an interview, not a very effective teacher, ran car rides like an asshole. Like I was all over the place, I'm a scatterbrain, and I had to really learn how to get buttoned up. And, I had to target the people that were exceptionally good at things that I needed to be exceptionally good at. If I was okay at something, it wasn't good enough. If I wanted to be a top leader, I needed to become the best at it in my environment, which means that I needed to have good relationships with other leaders. I needed to understand the strengths and weaknesses of the people around me. And I had to be a team player and willing to scratch someone else's back before they were willing to scratch mine. Because there was a point in time where I knew I needed to get better at my second round interview, or I was going to be overwhelmed with new starts. I needed another leader to help me train people. So it was always just smart, and it made sense to me to just build bridges and have strong alliances with good quality people that were on the same path as me. And these were my battle buddies going through the field. So.
Well, Puglia, you killed it today. Such a great breakdown. Best spray tan and SEI for sure.
Damn,
of anybody out there. Just kidding.
Screwed.
I know it's the writing. Seriously, great job, Puglia. We appreciate you and the time you put into it. Thanks everybody for hopping on today. Have a fantastic week, and we will talk to you guys in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yep.